So in this video we're going to talk about something very topical, and that's raised garden beds, which includes container gardening of all kinds. I'm John Valentino of John and Bobs. I'm here with Chip Valentino. I don't know if you can tell, but Chip got groomed yesterday. He's looking fantastic. And then I took a shower this morning, so together we're ready to talk about our 5 favorite ingredients for raised gardening beds and the flexibility within those ingredients. You don't have to use them all, and we'll explain how you determine when you're going to use each one. And I'm going to use measurements rather than precise measurements. I'm going to use parts so that you can adapt it to whatever you want to. You can use buckets or shovels or truckloads or whatever you want to do. And that is an issue that comes up here. I'm going to reference finding these common products at Home Depot, but you could order them in bulk if your raised gardening beds take up a really huge area and you're trying to maximize the bulk of this soil you're going to produce. One topsoil, one coarse sand, and that's our first ingredient. Those are very easy to find. Coarse sand is almost at any building supply place. So I found a topsoil look-alike or similar product at Home Depot in a bag, which is fine to use, a good product, and even though it's not really topsoil, it will work great. The option that you have that works good, that we do quite frequently in our own work, is to use soil from the site, even if you wouldn't necessarily describe it as topsoil. One of the reasons you're doing some kind of raised bed is probably to get away from what isn't good soil. But even poor soil, if it's heavy soil, you can use that from the site, particularly using these ratios that I'm giving. We frequently use, when I say topsoil, we frequently use soil from the site and mix it with all these other ingredients. That way we don't have to buy anything, and it works very well. So if you choose the route of buying the potting soil and looking into the black gold or other high quality bagged potting soils, another cost savings technique that we use for that option is we mix it with the native soil again, something like 20 to 30 to even 40% native soil, and the rest black gold would produce a very good result. So the second part is the organic material. 1 part sphagnum peat moss, which is very easy to find. It comes in big bales, and 1 part some type of organic matter like a pine bark or forest humus. I found one called amend, which is a very common one, and amend is excellent to use. It has bark and forest humus type products in it. 1 part maximize. That's our own product, our own John and Bob's product, made of lots of minerals, mycorrhiza, a good quality compost, and then 1/3 part Nourish-Biosol, or our organic fertilizer. Just those 3 parts makes an excellent potting soil. Some people are really interested in making the potting soil as light as possible, and since you're using topsoil and sand, those 3 parts are not as light as it could be. So if you're interested in making it as light as possible, you can substitute 1 part vermiculite for the topsoil, or 1 part vermiculite for the sand, or you could substitute vermiculite and perlite for the sand and the topsoil. And those are very lightweight materials that will completely change the weight of it, but still retain moisture and take up space. Vermiculite and perlite are both widely available. I saw them both at Home Depot. They're lightweight materials that are used in commercial potting soils. Almost every time you go to the nursery, you'll see little white specks in the plants, and that's either perlite or vermiculite. In my recipe here, I have sand. You might think you warned us in another video against mixing sand with heavy clay soil and making bricks. which it does. But that's not the case with the volumes that we're talking about. If you were talking about you have this heavy clay soil and you just mix in sand, you're going to make bricks. But if you just use a small percentage of the total mix in this heavy clay soil, you add sand and you add all the other things in my recipe, then you can create something very friable and that enjoys good aeration and percolation, and it's not going to be a brick. So raised gardening has lots of different factors in whether you're successful or not. Let us know what helps you succeed, or give us some tips if you've had tremendous success by including certain ingredients in your planting mix for raised or container gardening. So regardless of which of the potting soils you end up with, most gardening experts and most nurseries will tell you that you need to change the potting soil because plants like tomatoes and other vegetables are heavy miners of nutrients, and you'll end up with this lifeless soil if you don't change the potting soil every year, and that you can't grow tomatoes one season and then plant tomatoes in the same potting soil again. The neat thing about our line of products is we make it so you don't have to change potting soil in any container gardening, and that makes it so much more convenient. In spring and in fall, if you use our 3 granular products, Nourish-Biosol, Maximize, and Optimize, and then spray over the top with Penetrate, then you can keep the same soil, grow whatever you want in it, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, it doesn't matter. It will be completely fertile and productive. So this week's plant naming contest is a little more difficult, I believe. This is the plant, which, since I think it's difficult, I'll give you a hint. It's really useful in lots of different exposures. It'll take sun or shade, and it's a cultivar, a special cultivar of a very common, popular genus of plants. But it doesn't look that much like the genus. Click the link in the comments in order to submit your answer. You can check out a prior video we did and use everything in that video and apply to your raised gardening beds, and you will succeed with thriving, prolific plants that bloom and produce great yields.